Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Before we really get into it today, and believe me, we have a lot to unpack, just a quick bit of housekeeping.
Oh yeah, this is a big one.
If you're getting value from these deep dives, if you enjoy having these, complex ideas broken down, please do us a huge favor. Hit that like button.
And subscribe. It really is the best way to support the show.
It helps us keep the lights on, helps us fight the algorithm, all that stuff. And honestly, for today's topic, we're probably going to need all the help we can get.
You are not kidding.
Okay, so let's just jump in. Today, we're not just reviewing a book. We're analyzing something that I can only describe as a piece of artillery.
A good way to put it.
We're looking at Chaos Hates Clarity, The Iron Remedy, by a writer named Conrad Riker. And I have to be honest, reading it, it feels less like a book and more like a declaration of war on the modern world.
It is incredibly aggressive. And I say that as a compliment to the text.
Right.
Riker is not interested in being polite.
Not at all.
He's explicitly writing this for men who are looking around at Western civilization. You know, the crumbling cities, the media confusion, the cratering birth rates, and they just feel like they're being gaslit.
So that's the whole red pill framing you hear about.
Exactly. The idea that what we're told is progress is really just decay with a good PR team.
Right.
Riker's whole premise is that the collapse of the West isn't some accident, it's not bad luck. He argues it's the direct result of a trade we made.
A trade.
We traded, in his words, iron, blood, and logic for feelings, victimhood, and inclusion. And the result, according to him, is that we are now living in the ruins of that decision.
And we should be really clear here. This book has a very specific audience.
Oh, absolutely.
He's writing this for men. He's targeting the manosphere, guys interested in men's rights. Basically, anyone who feels like the cultural narrative has become hostile to masculinity.
Right. If you think the system is working perfectly, this book is probably not for you. He frames it as an antibody. If the virus is what he calls gynocentrism,
A society built around female sensibilities.
then this book is meant to be the masculine immune response.
So look, if you're listening right now and any of that resonates, I want you to open up Amazon Kindle or Google Play Books. I'm serious, do it right now.
Just cue it up.
Search for Chaos Hates Clarity, The Iron Remedy. Because by the time we're done here, you are going to want to read the primary source for yourself.
Okay, so let's start with the diagnosis. Riker opens with a very stark comparison. He doesn't start with theory. He starts with geography. He starts with Detroit.
Yeah, that section was bleak. He calls it the former Paris of the West. And now, well, it's a hollow shell.
Right. And he uses Detroit as a microcosm for the entire Western world. His argument is that you can have all the best intentions, but if you remove the pillars of civilization, which he says are God, family, and nation,
And replace them with what he calls ideological cancers.
right, then the physical world itself actually starts to crumble. The walls start coming down.
It's like the broken windows theory for an entire culture.
Precisely. Riker says civilization is built by men who believe they're building a legacy. When you tell those men they're oppressors, they stop building. They check out.
And on the other side, when you tell women they're victims,
They stop sacrificing for the family. The result isn't a utopia, he says. It's rubble.
he lists 3 of those cancers. We hear these words thrown around, but he defines them very specifically.
So first you have Marxism, which is class struggle. Then he has feminism, which he pretty aggressively calls female supremacy with better PR.
Wow, okay.
And then cultural Marxism, which he says hijacked the education system to pathologize being masculine in the first place.
And that's a key idea in the book, right? The idea that weakness is the problem. We've spent decades hearing that toxic masculinity is the issue.
He flips it completely. He says chaos thrives when order retreats. The West isn't dying because men are too strong. It's dying because we abandon masculine order for feminine chaos. Chaos hates clarity. It's right there in the title.
And that takes us to his historical model. I mean, usually you hear about modern CEOs or politicians. Riker goes back to the 19th century, to Otto von Bismarck.
Yeah, the Iron Chancellor. And this is maybe the strongest part of the book. He holds up Bismarck as the complete anti-modern leader, the antidote to what we have now.
So what's the contrast? What makes Bismarck the model?
Well, think about leaders today. It's all about consensus, right? Listening tours, making sure nobody's offended. Bismarck was all about realpolitik.
Iron and blood.
Exactly. He famously said, the great questions of the day won't be decided by speeches and majority resolutions, which is all we do now, but by iron and blood.
And the book gives that example, the culture camp. his fight with the Catholic Church.
Right, so imagine a modern leader facing an institution that opposes state goals. They'd set up a committee, right?
Yeah.
Have a dialogue.
Find a compromise.
Bismarck saw divided loyalties as a death sentence for a nation. He didn't negotiate, he just crushed their political influence. He wasn't trying to be nice.
He was trying to be effective.
Yes. He saw institutions that didn't serve the national interest as parasites. And Riker's point is, you don't negotiate with parasites, you remove them.
But the best example of this has to be the Ems Dispatch.
Oh, it's the ultimate don't explain, outmaneuver.
So, for context, tensions are high between Prussia and France. The Prussian king sends a telegram. It's polite, it's diplomatic,
Very standard.
and Bismarck gets his hands on.
And he edits it. He doesn't change the facts, but he strips out all the polite words. He makes it sound incredibly blunt and insulting.
Then he leaks that version to the press.
He basically trolled an entire country into war. He knew the French would see it as an insult to their honor and declare war, which is exactly what he wanted to unify the German states.
Riker calls it truth-shaped violence.
That's the phrase. Bismarck didn't care about transparency or fairness as we define them. He cared about the outcome, and the outcome was the German Empire.
It's a huge shift from what we see today, from authority to appeal. Bismarck ruled. Modern leaders just can't pay.
And Riker says that's not just in politics. He says we've lost the ability to even think clearly. And that brings us to his section on the Trivium.
Okay, I have to admit, I hadn't really heard of the Trivium before reading this. It sounds ancient.
It is. It was the foundation of Western education for centuries. It's 3 parts: grammar, logic, and rhetoric.
So grammar is the facts, the who, what, where.
Exactly. Logic is the why, how to reason, how to spot a lie. And rhetoric is the how to persuade.
And Riker argues we've basically broken that system.
We've inverted it. He says boys used to be taught grammar and logic first, specifically so they could detect lies. If you know the facts and how to reason, you're hard to manipulate.
But now schools just jump straight to rhetoric.
Straight to emotion and persuasion. Emotional intelligence, inclusion. We're producing men who feel very deeply but can't think critically.
So they're easy to control.
Because they react to tone instead of truth. Riker calls it linguistic tyranny. He uses the Canadian Bill C-16 as an example.
The compelled speech law about pronouns.
Right. He says that law literally inverted grammar. Pronouns are supposed to describe reality, he, she. They're based on observation.
And that law made them prescriptive.
It became a legal mandate to affirm someone's subjective identity, no matter the biological reality.
And he uses a really heavy example for this. The phrase, gender-affirming care.
This is where he's at his most incisive. He says, gender-affirming care is a rhetorical trick. It sounds kind. I mean, who doesn't want to affirm someone?
Right.
But he says, forget the rhetoric. Look at the grammar, the facts. What is actually happening?
He calls it the sterilization of minors.
Exactly. Puberty blockers, mastectomies on teens, those are the physical realities. He argues the euphemism is designed to bypass your logic. If you call it sterilization, the moral outrage is automatic. If you call it healthcare, you're a bigot for opposing it.
It's a linguistic trap.
A trap designed to castrate your ability to object. And this has a real cost. Remember that stat from the University of Wisconsin-Madison?
Oh, that was unbelievable.
In 2017, the university hired a diversity officer with a massive budget, while firing 47 lab technicians because of budget cuts.
You fire the people doing the science to hire someone to police the language of the scientists.
It's prioritizing ideology over competence. A civilization that values speech codes over research is a civilization that's eating itself.
Okay, so now we have to get into probably the most controversial part of the book. We've done politics, education. Now he goes straight for the sexual marketplace.
He does. And if you thought the other parts were spicy, this is where he really goes against the grain. He focuses on gynocentrism and what he calls the feminine imperative.
He argues that unchecked female nature isn't some Disney ideal. He calls it hypergamous.
Hypergamy, yeah. The instinct to date up, to seek status. And he's not just using anecdotes, he points to data from Hinge and Tinder.
This is the caste system of dating he talks about.
The data's pretty clear. On these apps, women swipe right on a tiny percentage of men. Roughly the top 20%, the bottom 80% are basically invisible.
Which just completely destroys that nice guy idea we tell our kids.
Oh, totally. We tell boys, just be nice, be a good listener. Riker says that's a lie. Nature, he argues, rewards strength and competence, not service. The guy who acts as an emotional tampon gets friend-zoned.
And he defines friend-zoned as biologically irrelevant.
It's a brutal way to put it, but it explains the incel phenomenon from his perspective.
Right, the media paints them as monsters.
But he calls them canaries in the coal mine. He says they aren't monsters, they're rational actors. If 80% of men are locked out of the market, of course they're going to withdraw. Why would you play a rigged game?
And for the men who do play and lose, he tells that story about the father in Calgary.
The financial castration case, yeah. Paying $2,400 a month in support, seeing his kids 4 times a year. Riker says the family court system is the enforcer of this order. It turns fatherhood into a tax.
And this all ties back to the collapse of institutions. Marriage used to be about duty.
Right, the death of duty. It was a mutual obligation to build a family. Now it's a vehicle for self-actualization. If you're not happy every second, the culture says to leave. And the stats show women initiate most divorces.
So you have boys failing in schools that pathologize them.
The boy crisis, yeah. Boys' roughhousing is toxic, but girls' relational bullying is called social intelligence.
And you have men checking out of a society where marriage is a huge risk. So who benefits?
Riker calls them the parasite class.
His term for the bureaucrats, the HR departments, the tenured academics, they need chaos.
Yeah.
They manufacture crises, racism, sexism, because if those problems were solved, they'd be out of a job. They don't create value, they just extract it.
Okay, so the picture he paints is pretty dire. But the book is called The Iron Remedy. So what's the solution?
Riker is very clear. It's not about voting. You can't reform your way out of this. It has to start with the individual man, reclaiming masculine
He
clarity.
brings up Schopenhauer, right? The red pill of Schopenhauer. Yes. The idea that life is suffering and only strength gives it meaning. He advocates for stoicism, but not, Instagram stoicism where you just post quotes.
Right. He's talking about actual discipline, like intermittent fasting.
It makes sense in his framework. It's about building your will. If you can't control your own hunger, how can you control your mind? He talks about denying the dopamine slot machine of your phone.
Cutting the cord.
Exactly. You have to get comfortable with silence and hunger to build that iron will.
And once you have that will, you deploy the strategy of contempt. This is my favorite takeaway. Iron silence.
It's so powerful. Think about when the mob comes for someone on Twitter. What's the normal response?
Apologize. Grovel. Explain yourself.
And Riker says, do not explain. Never apologize to a mob. He calls it the art of contempt. You treat their noise as irrelevant because engaging with it means you think their opinion matters.
Like Elon Musk just ignoring the noise and building things.
Exactly. Riker's point is that civilization isn't built by consensus. It's built by the will of men who refuse to be shamed into submission.
The book ends on a really challenging note. He basically puts the responsibility back on the reader. He says, the West didn't fall because of external enemies, but because men stopped believing in themselves. You are the antibody.
It's a heavy message. It's not about waiting for some leader to save you. It's about becoming the man who holds the line in your own life, your family, your community.
It is a really compelling call to action. And look, we've covered a lot. Bismarck, the Trivium, the dating market, but we have barely scratched the surface of what's in this book.
Agreed. The chapter on the myth of equality alone is worth the price. We didn't even have time to get into it.
So here's the plan. First, if this stuff interests you, follow the author. You can find him on Twitter at Conrad Riker. That's CONRADRIKER. And check out his Substack. It's conradriker.com.
He's publishing things there you won't see anywhere else.
And if you want to fight the algorithm, as he says, you have to act.
Support the work directly.
Go to Amazon Kindle or Google Playbooks right now. Buy Chaos Hates Clarity, The Iron Remedy. Read it. And then leave a 5-star review. Raker says every review is like a flag planted on captured territory.
It's a signal that you're done being fooled.
Exactly. Chaos hates clarity. So go get some clarity. That's it for this deep dive. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out. We'll see you next time.